What's up, everyone? Welcome to Suddenly Tenno Podcast, Episode 1. First of all, let's introduce ourselves. Headshot, if you would take the lead, please.
I am Headshot, otherwise known off the YouTubes, doing build videos, putting Former on stuff that people wouldn't usually put Former on, and that's pretty much me.
Alright, fair enough. Frozen?
I'm just another streamer for Warframe. Been playing Warframe for nearly 3 years. I'm pretty addicted to the game, and I like doing stupid stuff like breaking the game, and just having general fun and having good banter with people. So yeah, that's about it really for me.
Fair enough, and I'll introduce myself as well. I am Dimitri V2. I am a live streamer on Twitch, for people that don't know yet, and yeah, I just hang around, have fun in the game, and just hang out with my viewers. Alright, I think that is it. Seems fair enough. Now, the purpose of this is we're going to be doing a podcast related to Warframe things. We're going to be talking about builds or expectations for future updates. We're going to be doing discussing the updates that have happened, for things that we would like to see in Warframe, things that have happened in Warframe that we would, we'll be giving our opinions on that one as well. So, yeah, that is what this podcast is going to be about. So I hope you will join us for that, and should be fun. All right, now the first topic that we were gonna discuss, we've been thinking about this for a while, and the first thing we would like to discuss is the newly introduced update 17.5 for PC. One of the first things that we wanted to discuss was the J3 Golem and the fight for that one. And I think it's best if we start off with the actual quest, the Jordas precept. What are your opinions on that?
I think.
Frozen, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I was just thinking about myself, when I first did the quest, I didn't really think that they were going to tie in with the whole Cephalon thing, and with the whole Jordas being an actual Cephalon that got infested. I really think that's a pretty good idea, and that's more lore. And at the end of the day, Warframe has lore, but it's not exactly confirmed, so it's kind of more inferred kind of lore, so to speak. So I think in that sense, it's kind of like a step in the right direction in terms of getting more lore and understanding how certain things function in the game. And the mission itself, quite fun as well.
Fair enough.
I mean, we've known for quite some time that the infested can take over robotic units, because obviously we've got infested mowers and things like that, the tar mutalists. So the idea of them taking over a Cephalon's not actually that far removed either, so it is quite good. It shows that the infested is evolving, as it were. So yeah, you're right, it adds a lot more into the whole the lore of the game, which is actually really good. Advancing that is something I think keeps people involved, keeps people coming back. But I in general, I enjoyed the quest. It was a bit of a surprise, the way it turned out. I'm not going to go over any spoilers or anything, but it was kind of surprising in a way. But yeah, it was pretty good. It was pretty well done. So happy with that.
Fair enough. I like the quest itself as well. Like you guys said, the lore changes are nice. I always appreciate a good bit of lore. The quest itself was fun to do as well. I found it to be like you guys said, it was a bit unexpected, but a pleasant surprise, I would say. A pleasant surprise, yeah.
I think regarding the new boss, I don't know if it's an issue or whatever. The problem is, because Archwing is, it's not exactly something a lot of people do. Because of that, they don't really have maxed out stuff. And if you go into Archwing with a full squad, chances are, the boss can be pretty high level. So it can be pretty daunting and pretty scary for people. The only thing I would say, though, is for people who want to do the new boss, don't go with unranked stuff. Just, spend some time. Respect the game.
Yes, I would definitely agree. I found the boss fight itself to be a bit lackluster in some parts. I found it to be more of a meat shield than anything else. Hit it in the weak spot till it dies. We've seen it happen before.
It was just kind of it was kind of bullet spongy. It wasn't really. I mean, it's kind of fun because you've got the mowers that are flying around and they do a lot of damage. So you've got to clear them out fairly quickly. Otherwise, you're going to get wrecked really quickly, especially if you're using like an Itzal or something. But the boss itself was kind of just bullet spongy and wasn't. I don't know. I wasn't that impressed with the boss.
No, me neither, sadly. I would have liked to see more from the boss. The actual, it felt, like you said, just too bullet spongy for me. I like the extra monsters that they added in, though the Mutalist monsters. They actually felt more of a challenge than the actual boss. I was more afraid of the small guys than the big bulky boss guy. So
I guess the other thing I was thinking of was that now Archwing was one of those things that wasn't forced upon people. It was an optional thing. It was in the game, but you could do it if you wanted to. Now, if you want Atlas, you have to do Archwing. And I'm not sure whether forcing people or railroading people into a certain game mode is a particularly good way of getting people to actually get back into the game mode. Maybe it's to get people to try the game mode out again. I don't know what it is, but I don't feel it's particularly effective like that. I don't know what you guys feel about it, but
Frozen, go ahead.
You know what? See, here's the thing regarding the whole railroading thing into Archwing. I think, Archwing is supposed to be like a part of Warframe, and it doesn't get enough attention right now. And yes, it's a bit more on the bare bones side, and because of that, there isn't enough content for it, which is why a lot of people don't do it. And to an extent, while I do agree with you about the whole railroading thing, I really think this is more about to show the Warframe community that, especially new players, that we have a new game mode. This is also a game mode which can potentially be fun. We're still working on it, and changes will come up for it, etc. This is basically just me giving the benefit of the doubt, that hoping that this ends up becoming better sooner rather than later. So perhaps this is like them taking a step in that direction to making it better. But I do agree with you, and I don't particularly agree with the fact that it's kind of being railroaded or being bullheaded into doing Archwing. But yeah, I don't know. I sit on the fence with this one, to be honest.
Fair enough. I personally agree with Headshot as well. I don't really, as you guys know, I'm not a big fan of Archwing. I dread the fact that every time a new Archwing weapon comes out, just so that I have to spend more time leveling it up in a game mode that I would, it's time I would rather spend on other parts of the game. I, however, don't mind it as much. The fact that they're putting the new frame on a Archwing, on Archwing content, it is still a part of the game. As much as I personally don't feel like it, but it makes me on one hand worry for the future. Is this gonna happen more often? Am I gonna have to spend more time on Archwing? I hope they improve Archwing so that it actually becomes more fun to play for me.
I think what. Regarding Archwing, the way I see it right now, Archwing is in the same state that Warframe was about 2.5 years back when it was in closed beta, where it was bare bones. I don't remember how many people will actually remember this. The old school, Zinni 1.0, basically, which was just a map in the center with a pod in the center, enemies pouring in from 4 monster closets, etc. It's basically, that's what it reminds me of at this point. Over time, Warframe has been refined and it keeps getting better and better. It's like cutting a diamond. Each time you cut it, you refine. You basically have to cut it a certain amount of times to a point where it shines bright, etc. So I guess that's basically what it is. It's kind of like a diamond in the rough, just waiting to be, shined. So let's see how that goes.
Yes, fair enough. And speaking of just Archwing in general, the new defenses, mobile defenses changes have been brought into the game. Well, changes into the game. What do you think about that, guys?
Sorry, say that again.
The new defense and mobile defenses in Archwing. What do you guys think about that?
Headshot, you go on first, this one.
I was going to say the mobile defense is actually kind of fun. I didn't feel it was too bad at all. I was kind of worried about how you would actually defend that sort of thing. Obviously, with a mobile defense in on the ground, you could use a Volt Shield or you could use Frost to actually defend the thing you're defending. But in space, you can't really do that. So I was kind of concerned about how that was going to work. But I didn't really... It wasn't too bad for me. The only thing I would say was that the defense was kind of confusing. The enemies were... they weren't spawning very often. They were coming in at weird angles. And they were just... the whole experience was kind of confusing as to what was going on. I didn't really enjoy the defense as much as the mobile defense. But other than that, I think the expansion to Archwing is a good thing for those that actually enjoy playing it. But I'm not sure how they could make the defense, like I say, less confusing. I don't know how you guys found it, but...
I think regarding Archwing, like again, I'm on the same frame of mind as you. Like in terms of Archwing itself, I really did enjoy the mobile defenses, but the defense itself, I like the concept where you have to defend 2 points, and if both points are alive at the end of the waves, you like at the end of 5 waves or whatever, you get 2 rewards. I really do like that concept, and it's pretty cool. But the problem is, the defenses feel so slow. Like it doesn't seem to be on the same scale as some of the other game modes. Like I couldn't see enemies. We did like 5 waves, we did 10 waves as well, and I couldn't see any enemies. They were just either they were dying or they were getting stuck, or in general there were not coming that many of them. And then you play the mobile defense, and there are just millions of enemies just swarming over and over, but they're not getting to a point where they're insta-killing the pod either. So you've got that leeway in terms of defense as well. So I guess defense is, at the end of the day, it's a new like game mode for Archwing. So bugs are bound to happen. So giving the benefit of doubt again, I'm sure they'll just keep reworking and refining it as it is as they keep going forward with it. But I think in terms of as a new game mode, it does seem to have quite a lot of potential.
Yeah, fair enough. I personally myself found the mobile defense to be actually like quite a bit of fun, as much as I hate Archwing. There was like a lot of enemies coming in. It felt like it was actually doing something, which is what I usually miss in Archwing. It feels like I'm just sitting there waiting for the objective. But in mobile defense, there was actually like quite a bit of enemies to kill. I liked it. The defense I found, well, yeah, confusing is the word that you guys use, and I agree fully with it. It was just enemies kept pouring in from everywhere. It was just a lot going on. I really do like the idea of the double defense objective plus the double rewards ID that they introduced with it. I really wish to see more of that. That was a lot of fun. Hell, I would even like to see it in a normal game, or like in normal Warframe. Just double defenses with like obstacles in between, so you have to switch between the two. I really like that idea. Maybe even like have certain waves have like come in at just that defense objective, then the next wave come in at just that defense objective, and then swap it out, and then just like mix and match in there. I think you can do like lots of interesting things with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, anything else we feel like about Archwing that we want to discuss for now?
I think the only like changes or other things in terms of Archwing, like in terms of the game mode changes, like just changing or rather fixing the spawns for defense. Apart from that, I think they're definitely going to be fun game modes to play as well for people, and they're also good places for leveling your stuff as well. So people who don't do Archwing that often, they can just go into like the mobile defenses and just level their stuff. It's actually a pretty nice place for leveling your stuff. So, you don't always have to go into Kalis and have to deal with one Hellion that fires one barrage and insta-kills your Electron, which has got 4k HP, and think, what the hell just happened? So, it's kind of having that sort of medium ground to, level stuff up. Because obviously a lot of people were concerned with, how you level stuff up in Archwing because it's so hard, or either it's so boring because Urpo was, pretty low level. So, taking into consideration that, having a middle ground for leveling up stuff is actually pretty good.
Yeah, I agree, and especially the fact that one of the big things for me as well is the fact that there were Corpus enemies, like something to grind out on Corpus enemies instead of the Grineer. The Corpus enemies, in my opinion, in Archwing feel a lot more balanced. They feel a lot more things. Like you said, with the Hellions, the Hellions are a pain in the buttocks, and I don't know, I feel like the Hellions need to be looked at again, or give us more defensive options against them, but that's for another time. I really like the idea of the Corpus enemies, and I am happy with the mobile defenses, yeah.
Like the one thing I've noticed with Archwing that they've tried to do is to address something that people have been complaining about, and that is visibility of enemies. So basically every enemy now is marked basically at all times. I mean, beforehand they were marked for a while, or only if they came in range, and then if you aimed at them, the thing would disappear. But now it's marked at all times, which is it's a good start. But unfortunately, the choice of color is not great. As a person that is colorblind, as we were discussing a little bit earlier, I really like, especially on Sharkwing, I still cannot see the markers because it's red. It blends into all the background. It's a great idea and it's a great start, but I think things need to be progressed onto a stage where it's inclusive for everyone, I guess. It's definitely getting, towards having, towards being able to be useful for everybody, I guess. Because beforehand I had no chance of seeing them. Now I've got slight chance depending on where the marker is. But I think that still needs to be worked on. The mini-map, I thought we were going to get a new mini-map, but that obviously didn't seem to materialise because the mini-map is still absolutely terrible. Yes. The amount of times it tells you to go somewhere and you're not going there at all is ridiculous, especially in Archwing. That I thought was something they were working on, but didn't seem to materialise. That still needs definitely working on for Archwing to be, I guess, more fun and more just easy to play, I guess. Other than that, I think that the changes have been pretty good, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. I like, especially the one thing that stood out for me was the mini-map bugging out as well a lot in Archwing. As we've experienced when we did that mission on mobile events, we were like, I think we spent like a couple of minutes just searching for the objective because it was all over the place on the mini-map. We didn't actually know where it was until we were like already next to it, and it was like, oh, it's here. Well, crap. I think that's a big thing that needs to be addressed like really soon, because that is also one of the like things hindering Archwing for me. Other than that, yeah, I think Archwing is like definitely on its way there. It's gonna take a lot more time for me to find it like just as enjoyable as the normal game, but it's better than it was before, definitely. Rosen, you wanted to say something?
No.
All right. In that case, I think we can move on to the next one. Another one of the big things introduced in 17.5 were the new weapons. What are your guys' quick opinions on that? Let's start off with the what was the name of it again?
The Convextrix?
Yeah, let's start with that one. Why not?
The primary one?
Yes. Go right ahead, Hedgehog.
To be honest, I think the Convextrix, it does pretty decent damage, especially if you max it out. I've got mine, I think, it might be a 5 or 6 former, actually. It does really, really decent damage, absolutely shreds like level 100 corpus and stuff, which is really, really nice. To be honest, I don't really like it very much. I'm not a fan of the mechanics. This is the problem. If you left click, it will bring the 2 beams inwards. If you use your middle mouse button, it will start in the middle and go outwards. But what it means is that if you use your left click, you're going to be wasting ammo not actually hitting the guy that you're aiming at to start with. Or if you use your middle mouse button, it's going to expand over the size of his head by the time you realise. Either that or you spam your middle mouse button to try and keep it on target, which just rip mouse. So, it's a good weapon, does decent damage, but personally, I really don't like the mechanics of it. I don't know how you guys feel on the mechanics, but it just wasn't for me. It's a good weapon, though. I'm not gonna, if you like the mechanics, it's definitely worth it.
Go right ahead.
I haven't really tried the Convectrix yet, but, from what I've seen it does seem to be a bit on the, awkward side in terms of using. Like I said before, when I first saw it, it kind of looks like a corpus phage, but I can't really, pass much judgment on a weapon I haven't actually tried yet, so.
Yeah, same here. I'm still building it as well myself, so I'm not going to judge it too much, but from what I've heard people say, it feels awkward to use, yeah. Alright, then the next up is the Sonicor. Now, I know we all love this one, so Headshot, take it away.
I think everyone loves this so far. I don't think I've met a single person that hates it. It's really great fun. I mean, it's just pretty decent damage. The game says 0% status chance, but that is just plain wrong. From what we seem to have worked out, it's the projectile has 0% status, but the explosion can proc it. I'm gonna say 40-50% of the time almost. But it's brilliant fun, and it scales better than people would realise. at really high level, even if the damage falls off, you're still going to ragdoll them the other side of the room, which is absolutely hilarious. Anything like it's just a ragdoll pistol. Like launching things across the room is the best thing. That's why everyone loves the Jack tag and stuff like that. You just hit them and they disappear. They go to the moon. So the Sonicor it's a great weapon. So much fun. Absolutely love it.
Frozen, I know you have a special build for it as well. So what's your opinion on the thing?
Mate, all I'm gonna say is this weapon is so much fun to use. It is basically just so much fun. It's just so much CC. Like, one thing that really bothered me about before was enemies, like, if you CC them once with a blast proc or whatever, they're not gonna, they have, like, that CC immunity, right? With this new weapon, they don't have that anymore. They get knocked down, they will stay the hell knocked down because you can just keep knocking them down over and over. So, like the song, they get knocked down, they don't get back up again. Exactly. So I really do like that. And also because, I don't know whether it's a bug or not, but apparently for a weapon that has 0% status, it's still managing to proc. So, you can get a pretty decent build for it. Like just as an example, you put rate of fire mods, you put on reload mods, and you just spam that into a group, everything will be permanently CC'd. Who needs blast procs when you got the Sonicor? Yeah, it is definitely a fun weapon.
Yep, I'm loving it as well myself. I think on my third or fourth format so far, so I don't have a full build for it yet, but so far I am in love with the thing. The fact that, just like you guys keep saying, just the ragdolls, they are absolutely insane, and I'm loving every second of it so far. Alrighty. Next up would be the Tecto. The fist weapons. Take it away, Archwing.
The Tecto, I quite like them actually. I'm not usually a fan of the sort of the fisty weapons, but these ones are a bit different. They're slash based. I think pretty much all the others are impact based, so this is a good start. But other than that, they've got a pretty decent damage. But then it's like I say, slash based, which is pretty nice and sort of helps round out that class a little bit more. But then also, I failed to notice when I looked at them originally, it's got a 30% crit chance, which is just awesome. And then if you look at the fact it's got almost a 1 attack speed as well. So it's fairly quick. It's able to use Berserker very, very easily. And I've not managed to farm the new stance yet, which seems to drop from those new modular corpusy dudes. So I haven't really tried it out with that, but with the other stances, I can't remember which of the stances I was using actually for it. I think it may have been Seismic Palm. But yeah, these were things where they're a lot of fun. They're very, very good. They crit all the time, so you're always at sort of full speed with them. They're very, very good weapons, even though they've got very short range, obviously. Since they're fist weapons, you've basically got to hit them with it. But yeah, I'm quite impressed actually. Like them a lot. Probably you will use them quite a bit, I would imagine. So, yeah.
Fair enough. Frozen, your opinion on it.
My weapon's currently building, mate. Apart from, the only weapon I currently have only built is the Sonicor and the Atlas, so I can't really give any other judgment.
I'm the exact same way. The only thing I currently have done is the Sonicor. The rest is just, from what I've heard, from what I've looked at the stats, I can actually, tell you how they would play, so I'm not going to comment on those either. In that case, Hatchfield, have you been playing around with the new Archwing weapons, the Phaedra or the Cossos?
I have tried out the new the Scythe, which I can't remember what that one was called.
The Cossos.
But yeah, that one. It seems pretty decent. It's not going to be a contender for the top of the Archwing weapons. It's definitely not bad though. It's kind of fun, looks pretty good. I've not tried out the primary though, because I haven't really played very much Archwing since the change. Also, it basically just, it seems like a space Soma, which to me doesn't actually excite me very much, because I don't like the Soma to begin with. So I will test it out in the next few days, but at the moment I'm not rushing out to go and try it, to be honest.
Yeah, we've been honestly more busy with just testing the rest of the weapons and the rest of the changes than we've had the chance to experiment with the Archwing weapons for now. All right, then I guess we can leave those for later. All right. Next up would be the last big thing of 17.5, I would say, the Atlas frame. What are your guys' opinion on it, Frozen?
Fun frame. Don't get me wrong. I do like the frame. I actually do like some of his abilities, but my biggest gripe with the frame is no scaling. With most frames, there is scaling to an extent. You can go up high enough. So say for example you take a Mag, Equinox, or Nova, Loki, etc. They kind of scale up. Even with Saren, she scales up well enough to the point where you can kill enemies that level 100, etc. Without any problems. But Equinox has a problem where he can't do that. He falls off. Sorry, not Equinox. Atlas. He falls off really quickly. So that is like my only concern with the frame. Like, say for example, his golems, they do a lot of damage, but they don't have enough HP. Same with the shield. It works to defend, but it's got a small HP pool. So I think it's about scaling and a very small base HP that really needs to be changed or needs to be looked at. But I personally think, this is a really fun frame and has the potential for doing, just having a fun, like going melee, going ham with it, because it's got a good amount of armor and it's got an innate skill which prevents it from being knocked down when it's on the ground, which is absolutely fantastic. So, I think this frame kind of needs to be looked at again in terms of certain balance changes. But apart from that, definitely a fun frame.
All right, fair enough. Headshot, anything you want to add to that?
Not a huge amount, to be honest, no. I agree with pretty much all that Frozen says. He has no real scalability whatsoever. In terms of damage, like, he is pretty much pure damage. And in terms of his damage, it drops off by about, just a T4 exterminate. Not even, like, endless T4, just an exterminate, and his damage has already dropped off.
Yeah.
And the crowd control just isn't enough to save him in that instance. I mean, people talk about Hydroid being a pretty, as a bad frame. But if you think about his tentacles, I mean, at least they've got the crowd control element. Whereas Atlas has his Petrify, but he's almost entirely rooted into place. Like, he can move so slowly. So by the time, like, while you're doing it, a butcher's going to come up behind you and hit you in the back of the head and you're going to die. Plus, it doesn't seem to affect some enemies. I had a Bombard earlier that was in the middle of the Petrify and was still shooting me. It just wasn't doing anything to him. Plus, once you've got the wall, I can't even remember what the wall's called, but it's got so little HP that it dies almost immediately at like T3, T4. And then it's just even his rock golems have so little health, they get one shot so often that a lot of his abilities just, I mean, they don't even scale into the current content we've got, let alone if you want to take it on a longer run. Don't get me wrong, he is a fun frame. He is a fun sort of mid-level frame. But at the moment, he just doesn't have, he's not one that you're going to take on a long run of anything, to be honest. I mean, even Valkyr has uses at higher level, especially with, Hysteria and stuff like that. So, yeah, like I say, I like him. He's a lot of fun, but just the lack of any scaling really kills him for me.
Yeah, I would have to agree with the both of you there. So I don't have much to add. Just lack of scaling seems like I personally don't have him yet. He's currently building. He seems like a lot of fun, but from what I've heard, just a big lack of scaling is what kills him. All right, in that case, on to another subject now. Hatchel, I know this is one that you've been wanting to bring up for a while now. This is also the one that you actually brought up with us at the start, mission continuity. Something like completely different from the 17.5 changes, but something that we want to address first. So take it away.
Yeah, essentially pretty much at the moment missions feel completely disconnected from each other. As in, you go and do an exterminate and it just doesn't have an effect on anything. It just feels like what you're doing doesn't matter. And it's just that there's no actual consequences to what you're doing. I don't know whether you guys have any ideas in terms of how we can actually change that. I've come up with a few ideas of my own that we can talk about maybe a little bit later. I don't know whether you guys, agree with me in terms of the actual continuity and what the problems are and the causes at all.
Well, for me, one of the big problems with it lies in the fact that, like you said, missions just feel without purpose. They don't feel like we have an impact on it. I feel like if we were to have like an actual impact, like, we do an exterminate and then there's just like an empty ship floating, whatever. Right now, it just feels like we're just doing another mission without any impact. But I would really like that to have more of a feeling of like, oh yes, we're actually doing something. We're actually changing something in the game. And I think that's one of the biggest things is, well, yeah. What do you think about it, Frozen?
I think pretty much the same as you guys. My only issue with Warframe continuity, or rather, they've got a new user experience, right? So you've got an experience which teaches you some of the basics of the games, but that's about it. It literally teaches you, it's like you're walking along a platform and all of a sudden you fall down a sinkhole. That's basically how it kind of feels. That's not how a new user experience should be. It needs to kind of go into more detail. It needs to break down, some of the more advanced stuff. Example, like building, like elemental combos, how it affects them, etc. Just having small tutorials explaining that would, feel good as well. At the same time, mission continuity, again, because I personally think this is also tied with the whole lore aspect as well. Because we haven't had that much lore. Or rather, we've got lore, but it hasn't been like completely clearly defined, so to speak. Yeah. So my issue is that because we haven't had that, it's kind of hard to feel connected or to feel immersed or to feel anything for the Tenno. It's like I've been playing this for like 3 years, yeah, and I've never had any connection with the Tenno. For me, it's just another game where I'm playing a different Warframe, where I'm going around punching people, killing people, slaughtering them, and picking up all their loot. But I would like a bit more immersion. I have always been a sucker for immersion in games, and when, don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining about the game. At the end of the day, the game is still fun. It's just more immersion, and having that continuity would be definitely a step in the right direction for Warframe itself.
Yes. I think the best way to put it is missions just feel the same, but we're just in a different location every single time.
Kind of like cause and effect, or rather like the butterfly effect. Something happens that results in something else happening, that results in something else happening. But in this particular case, we have a start chart, yeah? We got a start chart with a multiple number of planets. We choose a node, we go do that node, we do an exterminate, we do a survival, whatever. Why are we doing that? I mean, why are we following the Lotus? Why are we doing something? Why are, if we're fighting against the Grineer so often, why are, we should be getting some sort of kind of effect from that with, say, the Corpus, like they become more partial towards us and offering us contracts, for example, or vice versa. Or if you're hunting the infestation, the Grineer and the Corpus offer you some kind of, compensation, so to speak. It should have kind of like that kind of flow, so to speak. But at the end of the day, I can also understand that might be a bit more work, so it'll probably take some more time in order to actually get that working.
Yeah, Patrick, what do you think about it so far?
Well, I mean, to be honest, I was just reading your chat and Taheo was talking about the invasion thing, and that is exactly right. I mean, it just feels like at the moment there is a war between the Corpus and the Grineer, but do you actually get the feeling in game that that's actually happening? That there actually is a war between the two? Like, do you guys get that feeling at all?
No, honestly, I don't.
At all.
I mean, I remember a while back where, you actually used to have where you would lose ownership. Like, I remember when Kappa was owned by the Corpus and there were Oxium Ospreys, and I farmed that shit for 200k Oxium, like early back in the day, because Kappa used to be the place to level. But my point is, it used to change ownership back then. So why doesn't it do it anymore?
I think that ended up because the Grineer conquered the galaxy. Or the Corpus conquered the galaxy. I can't remember. It was they owned every single node. Like, you couldn't go anywhere for Corpus anymore. It was absolutely crazy. But the thing is, I mean, even now, everything feels one-dimensional. It feels like they're having this measuring competition over this one random node that doesn't change. It changes absolutely nothing. There's an invasion, there's a war, but nothing changes. It doesn't even matter who wins.
Yeah.
So in terms of the idea, do you mind if I go into the idea that I was having in terms of
go right ahead.
So my idea was with with the new star map that's coming with update 18 would be that the current invasion sort of system on the ground doesn't really, I mean, that could do with an overhaul, but I don't really want to talk about that. But say, for example, Corpus own Mars and Jupiter, which they do at the moment. But there would be a supply line between the two. And occasionally the Grineer would assault that supply line. So it would be a sort of a combination of the alert, the invasion system. It would be another part to the invasions. So it could be there's so many different mission types you could have as well that actually feel like it's a war going on. So the Grineer could be attacking the Corpus to destroy like a supply run, like key equipment, such as like a shipment of bursars or hyenas or something. And then the mission type could be like a sabotage or defending the bomb or something like that. Or you could be attacking to eliminate Corpus troops in general that are going to invade the Grineer planets eventually, or you could be, say, for example, attacking to rescue a person of importance, and that's going to lead you to maybe an optional alert with rewards that the rescue targets actually tipped you off about, rather than these random rescue targets you never hear of again. But then I wanted to expand that to include Archwing. We were talking about a little bit earlier. But it would be an optional thing. So you could either choose, it would give you extra rewards to do it, but it would be a completely optional thing. So that, say for example, you were helping the Grineer attack the Corpus, you would deploy either to the Corpus ship on your Lizette, if you choose not to do the Archwing portion, or if you choose to do Archwing, you could actually deploy from the Fomorian, have to kill Corpus troops on the way to the Corpus ship, and then you would do the mission as well. So it would tie in a whole load of different game modes, and actually give us something completely new, and it would be another part to the whole invasion system. Obviously you could help the Corpus. I mean, you could help the Corpus, say for example, the ones I came up with are, you would defend the bomb to like defuse it or something. Or mobile defense, you could be defending a team of Corpus engineers which are trying to get their navigation back up again. Or exterminating the Grineer assault team that is attacking the ship. And then if you chose the Archwing option, you could deploy into Archwing, and then you could go into the Fomorian attack type, the one we had in the event at Christmas that never came back. But Archwing in general would be like an optional thing. But it would be so much more than just the standard sort of do 5 exterminates to get your reward. It would have, I don't know, it would be more immersive. It would feel like they're actually fighting each other, trying to get strategic victories, that sort of thing, rather than just the random 5 exterminates, which the invasion system is at the moment. It's so one-dimensional. And we've got this massive amount of space in terms of actually using space. But no one does it. We don't use the sort of attacking ships that we saw during the event. I think it's something that's really sad that they haven't actually expanded on to use. And I think this would be kind of a cool thing to implement in with the new star chart.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like honestly, like chaining missions together would make things more interesting, instead of just doing like, I'm just gonna do a mobile defense first and then I'm gonna do an exterminate and just try to get your loot from there. It would make the whole thing feel more immersive, because, well, you were doing that mobile defense first, but now because of that mobile defense, you gained a nav coordinate to a prisoner being held somewhere. So you go to that planet, you rescue the prisoner. He gives you the location to an exterminate mission, like a barracks or Grineer or something, like protecting a cache of loot. And then at the end of it, you would gain that cache of loot. But to do that, you would have to still do different types of missions. You would have to go across the star map, so to speak. But you would be immersed, because you'd be like, I'm not doing a random exterminate. No, I'm doing this exterminate to clear the Grineer barracks away so I can get the loot cache. I'm doing this rescue mission not just to save a random NPC, but to save a random NPC who is going to give me the location of this and this. Make it feel important and connected to the lore that we're actually doing these missions.
You could also connect it back to the fact is we've got Void Sabotage, which you go through the portal and you end up in like the Corpus tileset on like on Europa or something.
Yeah.
You could tie it back in so that you get the location of the other side of it, and you could actually raid the Void from that side. From a rescue target or even a capture target. There's so many different little things, just slight tweaks on current game modes, or even mixing current game modes together. Because at the moment, like, I mean, what we've been saying is everything feels disconnected. There's no ramifications for any of your actions whatsoever.
Yeah.
You just do a mission and that's it. You just forget about it afterwards. There's nothing to worry about. I mean, it would also be cool if it was sort of stored silently. So say for example, you've been helping the Grineer the entire time. When you run against a Grineer boss, the Grineer boss might be slightly more favourable to you than if you ran a Corpus boss. I know it's extra work for DE with lines and things like that, but it would give an idea of, I was going to say, it just gives like an actual consequence to your actions, even if you can't see it. It would be bad if you could see it, because you could play both sides. It should be a silent thing.
Well, what question I was asking is, when you say more favourable, what do you mean exactly by that? Like
when they're talking to you, they in the actual conversation, they might bring up, what you've been helping us so often. Why are you coming to kill me, sort of thing? Or the Corpus one could be, oh wow, you've been killing us constantly. I've been expecting you, sort of thing.
Yeah. So that actually kind of reminds me about the Nemesis system in Shadow of Mordor. I don't know if actually people have played. In Shadow of Mordor, they've got this Nemesis system, right? So if you kill one of the boss, well, not exactly bosses, but like the elite, they've got like a recognition system. So say for example, you kill them, and there's this one specific boss, it comes back, etc. I don't know if it was a bug or not, but it kept coming back every time you killed them. And either if you kill them or if they kill you, they get stronger and they come back. And they remember your face, and they remember your weaknesses, etc. And they're more likely to, exploit your weaknesses, so to speak. And they've got like specific lines designed towards like, hey, I remember you from earlier on. I'm gonna kill you this time. I'm not gonna let you run, etc. They've got lines like that. I think that in general also kind of works more towards the whole immersion, and it's small things like this which will also end up, helping the whole continuity and immersion of the game as well.
Yeah, I would love it if I've been killing Corpus bosses the entire time, and I then visit, another Corpus boss, and all of a sudden he just, tells me like, well, you've been killing us so often, we've been expecting you. Even though it's like a tiny little thing, it does make you feel more connected. It would also help us differentiate from other Tenno, as weird as it sounds, because one Tenno might be helping the Grineer a lot and killing the Corpus, while the other guy might just be, I don't know, just killing the Grineer.
Yeah.
And
Say
for example,
in that same scenario what you just defined, say I'm playing with you, Dimitri. I fight against the Grineer a lot. You fight against the Corpus a lot, and I go and do a Grineer boss. So the Grineer boss then says something like, "I expected so and so player to be here, but what are you doing here? I thought you were working for us." Just that kind of stuff would just be even more immersion right there. And like it would kind of add towards possibly towards like the continuity as well.
It makes you feel part of the game. That's what that's what the thing is. People will come back more and will be more immersed in a game if they feel like they're actually a part of it. And it's just one of those things that at the moment, it just, like I say, it doesn't feel like there's a war between the Corpus and the Grineer going on. It doesn't feel like that there's any reason for us as Tenno to be involved in this war, because it's not really going anywhere. It's not really doing a lot. If there's constant raiding by Grineer and Corpus on supply lines, on that sort of thing, then you can actually understand the Tenno being involved. It makes more sense from a lore storyline kind of thing. It would just expand the story to kind of make more sense that the Tenno are actually in this fight, and the reason why they're in the fight.
Yeah, I completely agree. Hell, for example, as you guys know, I like to do a hell of a lot of void missions. Not just with like the corpus and the grenade, but if all of a sudden I'm doing a boss and just he says something about how I've been going to the void a lot, it would be like, well, the world's been moving on. Like while I've been farming this void, all of a sudden, the world has been moving on. They know that I've been into the void a lot. It just feels at the moment, like you guys keep saying, it feels so disconnected and so. The world doesn't seem to be moving. It's either we versus the Grenier, we versus the Corpus, we versus the Infested. Nothing seems to be happening with the Tenno not being involved. And that makes it feel so slow, because the world only moves on if we're doing something, I feel like. And that is... I don't know, I would love to see that change. That would make it feel more immersive as well. Like, yeah, well, while you've been gone, we've basically lost control of the Mars system. Surprise, surprise. Something like that.
Yeah.
Yep. There needs to be consequences. This is the thing. We had consequences before. Like, the most immersed event, for me, was the one where the Tenno relays would get destroyed if you didn't do it.
Yeah,
yes.
There was consequences.
With the Fomorians? Yeah.
Yeah, because the thing is, it got to the stage where people had done the runs that they needed and then left it and just didn't really do a lot and waited for the timer to go down, because they didn't really believe that the Grenier were going to come up and destroy the actual relays, and then all of a sudden we lost a relay. No one thought D was going to go through with it.
To be fair, though, I think regarding the first relay loss, most people didn't actually believe it. Yeah, I agree with that. But a lot of people, including myself, were more of the minders like, what happens if we don't defend it? So we just kind of let it die.
Yeah.
Yep.
This is the thing. Like, no one actually believed DE was going to come along. They've spent all this time building these brand new relays. No one thought that they were going to let it get blown up. Yeah. Something was going to happen to stop this Fomorian. Then all of a sudden we lost it and everyone went, oh, damn.
Did you really think it would be this easy?
Exactly, and I remember streaming during that time as well, and, you know, for days the conversation was just like, are we going to be able to save this relay afterwards? At first, like, the day itself was like, we're not going to make it with this relay. Do you know what's going to happen? What is going to happen? What is going to happen? And then for days afterwards, like, oh, crap, we lost the relay. Oh, shit. And I would like those kinds of events again. They made the entire thing feel immersive. I would love to see more of that.
It made people care, and this is the thing. It's that whole immersion thing. If you care about the actions you're doing, and you care that we're about to lose one of the relays, then they've done their job properly. Because that is immersion. That's what brings people back and keeps people in the game.
Yep, exactly. That is indeed how it is, and I would definitely like to see more of those types of events and just those types of missions as well. Because I remember still everyone just being like, "Oh crap, we need to do this. We need to do this. We need to like." I remember people setting up groups of just to run Archwing for like an hour or 2 hours straight, just so they could try and save the relay. And I really would like to see more of that. Anything else you have to add in, Frozen?
I think that's about it, really, to be honest.
Yeah. I don't think there's much more to be said about it. Just make the missions feel more connected, because at the moment everything feels so Tenno-centric, I would almost say. Everything is about us. The Grenier and the Corpus don't ever do anything anymore, I would say.
I would just like to point out one thing, though. Go on.
I was going to say, it just doesn't feel, right now, it just doesn't feel like the Tenno should be involved. It doesn't seem a big enough conflict for us to actually be involved. And that's kind of what needs to be, to change. That's what needs to be fixed.
Yep.
I was just going to say about, just backtracking a little bit about Atlas and stuff. This is one thing which, it's a bit of an issue with, like, for example, people like me, Headshot, Dimitri, like people who play this game and have advanced builds for everything. Sometimes, it kind of gets with the whole tunnel vision where because we can, solo or do high level stuff, people sometimes tend to lose the track that, what we can do, not everyone else can do. So, sometimes we forget that the balance is also for new players. And which is understandable. The thing is, with other frames, you can kind of do that. The problem with Atlas is it doesn't really scale up that well currently. So, hopefully the changes come in forward, so that it actually becomes viable. So even up to like level 100 or so anyway. I just completely forgot about that point. Otherwise, yeah.
Yeah. Just as a final thing on the topic of Atlas, I wouldn't even mind seeing Atlas replace maybe Mag as a starter frame.
Yeah, that's actually a good point,
Yeah, he wouldn't fit in perfectly.
Imagine Atlas as a starter frame. It would be absolutely fantastic, and I think people would love it.
Yeah. All right, so I think it's about time we wrap this up. Let's do a quick recap of what we discussed. New boss, quest was kind of fun. The boss itself was a bit underwhelming, bit of a meat sponge. Archwing defense and mobile defense, it's a step in the right direction, but we would still like to see more. The opinions on the new weapons, we love the... I am horrible with names, I'm sorry. Sonicor. We like that weapon. The rest of the weapons they're a step in the right direction. At least they're unique. The Tecto, just unique in their class, slash damage fist weapons. The Convectrix is a bit weird to use, but it's another unique weapon, I would say. Archwing weapons we haven't really tested out. Other than that, the Atlas frame, we think it's fun to use, but requires more scaling in general. It feels a bit a bit on the weaker side, I would say. And then with mission continuity, I would say they feel disconnected. It feels like it just doesn't matter what we do. Like if we do a million exterminates or just do 5 mobile defenses, the end result is basically the same. Nothing really changes. What would we do to fix it? Well, have more impactful events, things like the Bailiff from Orion thingy during Christmas last year. Things like mission change, so where we do the invasion types on the supply lines or whatever. Just make the missions chain together instead of doing just like one exterminate, one mobile defense. Have the mobile defense have an impact on the exterminate, and then have that chain into a rescue mission, which then goes into a hijack mission. Like just change up the mission types. It would make it feel more immersive, and also have the Grenier and the Corpus like keep track of what you do and make you actually feel involved, like you're doing something.
That sounds about right.
That sums it about up. All right. Is there anything else we want to say before we cut this off?
No, I think that's about it, mate.
Yeah.
Yep, that's pretty much it for me as well.
All right. In that case, we're going to be heading off. That was the first episode of Suddenly Tenno Podcast. This was episode 1. Joining me today were Headshot. You can find the information on the screen right now. Frozen Balls, and me, of course, Dimitri V2. I would like to thank you very much for joining in, and we hope to see you back next time.
Yep, I'll see you next time.
Thank you very much for tuning in, guys, and see you next time.